Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio podcast. I am your engineer, Kate, and this is a podcast about anime. And this episode will be talking about the spring 2023 season of anime that is currently airing right now as we speak on the air. Internet. Mostly
Okay,
internet. Very little air. Very little air. But entirely internet.
You good?
I think so. How's everybody doing?
I'm alright, I guess.
Any news? I didn't see anything in the news doc.
Hi, I'm Kestrel.
Oh, I guess I should introduce everybody.
And I'm DJ.
Bran is here.
So is Kane, for better or for worse.
I'm trying to switch it up in the beginning, and I forgot like the important things like introductions and shit.
It's
But
fine.
I'm glad-
Everybody knows that spring is currently happening now.
spring is happening.
I'm just glad you're workshopping it in production.
I see what
Always testing
happens.
production. Always testing production.
Like whatever. I gotta keep our 5 listeners on their toes. That's how it works.
Are the
So-
5 listeners the 5 of us?
I don't listen to my own podcast. Why would I want to listen to my own voice?
I mean, obviously we don't listen to the recording, but we're listening to it being recorded. I think that counts.
That doesn't count. No, I'm
Well,
talking about like
We're
actual
getting a little psychological here.
Yeah, this is too deep for me on a whatever o'clock night this is. Do we have any
Spring
news?
o'clock, I believe.
Spring o'clock. Do we have any news?
No, I got nothing.
Yeah, okay, we got nothing. I went to Anime Boston this year for the first time in like a hot minute.
How was that?
Cool. It was cool. It was still LineCon. I don't think it'll ever be
Always has
not be LineCon. Well, it was especially LineCon this year because I guess on Friday night a fucking pipe burst in the registration
Nice.
room.
Ugh.
So that was
Gotcha.
cool because then they had to like close half the registration. Well, they didn't really close it. They just kind of like cordoned it off and then put a massive amount of industrial fans and dehumidifiers in there, and just moved everything to the other side of the room.
If you
As
think
you
Anime, if you think Anime Boston's LineCon, why don't you check out a little convention called Anime Expo?
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good on that. I'm good with that.
It's a feature,
Um,
not a bug there.
Brings in a cool 120K attendees.
Ugh. No, the convention
Imagine the
was good.
stank.
Oh God.
I
Oh
don't-
God.
I really don't want to.
No. Anime Boston was good. It's still Anime Boston. You know, there was doubt in my mind that it might have been, different, but it wasn't. And pretty much how it always is. Aside from waiting in lines forever and panels filling up very fast, yeah, it was good. I couldn't meet up with Darius though, because I was like hauling around a 13-year-old. So
He's always busy anyway.
yeah, I know. He was. I wanted to at least go to like one of the things he was like moderating, but like
Yeah.
children, there was children involved. So yeah, not my children, just like other people's children that I stole to go to the convention, so I don't look like a loser 42-year-old at an anime convention.
That's key.
I mean, I reached a point like several years ago. I'm like, I'm getting too old for this shit, but now I have an excuse. Because I grabbed my niece at the last minute and said, "Hey, do you want to go to a convention?" And she's like, "Yeah, I do." And I'm like, "Cool." We almost got our mom arrested going because she went the wrong way in the parking garage. So
Oh no.
it was all good. It was all.
Does your
good.
niece like anime, or did you just bring her to an anime convention?
Oh, I asked her. I said, "You want to go?" And she's like, "Yeah, I want to go." And she had like a friend that was there cosplaying and stuff. And then we met up with my college friend and his daughter, who's like her same age, and they're basically the same child, just living in two different households, like personality wise and like interest wise. So
These conventions are for them now. Not
I
us.
know it really
Oh,
is.
yeah.
They was like bring the 13-year-olds to the anime convention, who became instant friends after one of them was all like, yeah, my Mandarin teacher, and then my niece was like, yeah, my Mandarin teacher, and I'm like, only you two would be taking Mandarin. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun bringing her around. They had a great time. I had a great time. My friend had a great time. So it was all good. And I finally made it to the Dark Horse panel. Because I did not make it there the last time, because I was actually working the convention the last time I was there, so. Finally. One shit at the Dark Horse panel. I'm very proud of myself for winning that raffle.
Yeah, for some reason I always win the raffles at Dark Horse panels. Nowhere else, but always there.
Yeah, it was good. I got that one volume of Kurosaki Course Delivery Service that I did not have, so.
I won
Nice.
one raffle in my anime convention history, and it was a signed copy of the script to episode 21 of Your Lie in April, which is the
That's
cool thing
cool.
that I own.
I
Whoa.
think
cool.
that's the first time I ever saw you.
Yeah, yep, that's the thing that happened. I still talk to the guy who was running the Aniplex panels back then, Alex. Cool dude.
Nice.
So that was my hot news update minute. Yeah, the convention was good. I did not get con plague nor COVID. Neither did my niece.
That's huge.
Nice.
I know. I wasn't very impressed. Especially since I was not masking most of the time. Only in the subways, really.
Was anyone? Because I haven't seen a human wearing a mask in months.
Like, I would say, like, 1/3 to 1/4 of the attendees were masked up.
Uh-uh.
So that was actually pretty good. And you had to,
Yeah.
they were only letting you in if you had a Vax card.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So, yeah, so,
Which I feel like cons have been doing that for the past year or so.
yeah.
Although, like, you can have a Vax card and not have boosters, and basically means shit at this point.
Yeah, but they were actually like checking it at registration and make sure you brought yours. And
Yeah.
I saw a lot of chuds on the internet bitching that they were like, oh, the woke convention. I'm like, that has always been the most woke convention. I'm like, do you know what Anime Boston is? I'm like, holy crap, people.
I'm pretty sure AX and Crunchyroll Expo and Anime NYC all required that last year, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
MagFest has required it for the past 2 years, I think. And you have to be masked in all the convention areas and everything. They still go hard in the paint.
Yeah, they were like heavily, like, they had signs up that like, thank you for wearing a mask, but it was not required.
Yeah.
But some people were, so they were leaving it up to attendee discretion.
Not surprised.
And no, it was good. Okay, let's just dive into the season because there's a lot of shows and people will be watching things.
There are. I think this is the first season I've watched more than 5 shows. I think I
I'm
have
so
6.
proud of you.
wow.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying it, but
Damn.
Watching that shit for like the sake of watching shit.
no, I mean I like them all. It just sometimes I'm like, oh god, I gotta fucking sit down and watch. Because today I had to do it. I was like, I hadn't seen the new episode for any of these, and I had to watch 6 straight episodes of anime on my lunch break. And
How
it was
long is your
fine.
lunch break?
That's a long
Jesus.
lunch break.
Well, I
Well,
I skip all of the OPs and EDs for the most part, and then I
That's
also
still-
I
Play at
also
1.5.
trail the lunch break into, like, sometimes I'll clock in and start doing work, and then I'll just keep the anime playing if it's a show I don't particularly care about.
nice. I wish I could get
So
away
what
with
do you
that.
mean is you didn't watch these shows today?
No, the only one I did that to today was Mashle, because I don't have to pay attention to that show.
That's fair.
You pretty much know exactly what's going on all the time, and you know the gist of the show, like, in the first 5 seconds. So,
Muscle Wizard Cast Punch.
yep,
Yep.
One Punch Man in Wizard World.
Yes.
There you go.
That's it. That's her one line review.
Yeah, Saitama goes to Hogwarts, yeah.
Now, it's not a bad show. I mean, we might as well just start talking about it because it's already here. I do enjoy it, and I have been. I have the same feelings towards it that I did when the Sleepy Princess and Demon Castle show first came out, which is, how long can this gag keep going?
Mm.
I don't know if Mashle's going to be as good about it as Sleepy Princess was, because I love that show, but they were able to just do a bunch of different variants on the gag. But for the most part, it's Mash just does a strong thing instead of magic, and then is like oblivious to the world around him, which has been good so far.
I feel like as someone who, since I review Mashle every week, I have like a very, very deep, just like I've just been following it for so long, and I know that it is very much a thing where it is the same gag. You're gonna expect it over and over, and it's interesting because at first it feels like it's trying to like subvert a little bit. It's like, oh, it's like a magical academy show, but he just punches and kicks and does big muscle moves. But eventually it gets to a point where it's no longer subverting and it just becomes like actual battle shonen. And I feel like that's when it gets a little slower and weaker. Basically, anytime Mash being funny isn't the main part of what's going on, the show really kind of falls off a bit, or the manga at least. Just the way I feel is that like Mash is like a good character in a pretty mid series, so it kind of like evens out a little bit. But I feel like my main gripe with it so far is that I feel like A1 Pictures is a very streaky studio, and I'm not very impressed with the way Mashle looks so far. That's not to say that I feel like Mashle doesn't even have very interesting character designs to begin with, but something about the designs and the color composition just I don't know, they're not very flattering to look at, especially when there's not a lot of motion going on.
They're certainly flat.
Yeah, and there's like not a lot of even like the actiony parts so far have not been very like well animated or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoy it, but it definitely feels like the execution is a little off, and I feel like a lot of that also lends to the fact that the comedy works a lot better in manga. It's like a page turn effect kind of thing. Just some of the comedic timing doesn't feel as powerful as it should be, but I really like Mash as a character and his like don't give a shit attitude. I think he's really funny, but yeah,
He's like a borderline comedic psychopath. So
yeah, he's literally like, yeah, I don't care about your rules. I will bury you if you step across me, bro.
I did laugh at that part. I thought that was one of the funnier ones where he said, "I already punched one. What's one more at this point?"
And they're like, that's serial killer logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of that. It looks pretty flat, and I don't think the character designs are okay. I mean, I could say meaner things about it, but I won't, just because I enjoy the show. So if it pops off and I stop liking it, then I'll probably dunk on it some more. But yeah, it is a show that I can put on and enjoy it without having to feel like completely engrossed, which is fine. Like not every show needs to have my like 100% undivided attention. The whole like marked unmarked thing, I imagine they get back to that eventually. Like it's kind of in the background, but for the most part, it felt like just a thing that made him different, and that was about it.
Yeah, it's like a
we don't.
very. It's not really spoilery, but it's like a very. It's like this very simple power system. The lines, so and it is kind of funny because it's like an inverse of Harry Potter, where everyone has a mark except for him, so he's just got to pretend to have it. But
I think the thing I do like about the show the most is the mini mysteries of the gags so far, where it's like I wonder how he's going to subvert the magic and do the thing.
Right.
Like guessing like with the broom race, I thought he was just gonna jump really far.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, not fucking hurl the broomstick. So
Yeah,
that's been fun.
I do think even though it is like the same joke over and over again, they really are ridiculous enough that it doesn't get old, and they'll eventually add more characters too that are supposed to be comedic as well, and I think that will help add some flavor to the show. But honestly, whenever Mash is on screen is the best parts, and whenever he's not, it's like okay.
Yeah, read the first 3 chapters when it first started, like I do with most Jump manga. And I think my thoughts now are basically the same as my thoughts then, which was, man, this poor guy really wishes he was one. Because it seems like everything just wants to be another one manga. And I kind of wonder if that extends to the adaptation a little bit in terms of like, it looks like shit, but maybe it's supposed to look like shit, like the Mob Psycho anime. Now, of course, that has incredible animation, where this has
there's the difference.
art and animation, which is a problem. But like, yeah, I had to look it up because I didn't believe you when you said this was A1 Pictures.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I thought it was like JC staff. Like on the initial, I was like, who made this?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does not look great. And I am still not in love with it and feel like, yeah, it's not that original and could get old pretty quickly. But I do think that the gags, how they execute the same gag over and over and, manage to get him through this situation that he should absolutely have flunked out of day one, continues to be entertaining. And yeah, he's a fun character. So yeah, I think it's a funny little like weird Harry Potter parody kind of show. But it's just like, your poor man's One Punch Man.
Yeah, and
it certainly helps when you get the insane plot armor that is the head of the school's like, you just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I kind of like you, yeah.
Yeah, you seem like a good person.
You can literally bury the vice principal and like kick the shit out of a kid whose dad is like the highest authority here. That's cool.
Like, but you stood up for your friend, so that's all good.
Power of friendship.
Yeah, I think the comedy will keep people in. I think where it's really going to like hit or miss is whether they pull off the action sequences, because eventually they'll start doing more like high tier magic battle stuff. And even though the manga doesn't have like amazing art, I think some of the designs for the higher level magic are pretty cool looking. So I think it's a matter of execution once we get to those parts, if the anime will be like worthy as an adaptation or not. Because yeah, at that point it's just like, do you enjoy watching Muscle Man punch magic boys? And yeah,
I will say every Friday afternoon I want cream puffs.
Yeah, it's a very interesting shtick, and I've never wanted a cream puff before, Mashle. So if that's anything, a good advertisement for it.
It's big cream puff in action.
Exactly.
Cream puffs are pretty damn good, man.
Yeah, see if you can find a
Puffs. Oh, they're gross.
What?
I hate any. Okay, no. Here's the thing, though. I hate
This is why
any
DJ isn't watching Mashle.
cream-filled pastry. I just don't like any of them.
They're the
I don't like
best.
filling. Even jelly donuts. I'm just like, yo, this is fucking. There's something about the combination of textures that just creeps me out.
You're not. Boston cream donuts are like God's
they're
gift
not.
to
No,
mankind.
They're best.
Give me a fucking chocolate donut. Like, I don't need the cream. Why
That's the
is
best
that
part.
in there? It's ruining everything.
It makes it worthwhile. Oh my god.
No.
Well, this is why
See,
DJ
like, I
isn't
think
watching Mashle anymore.
Oreo has it right, because it's not like a liquid cream. It's like a nice, like, fucking thick with 3 C's, just white slab of whatever that is. And that I like.
See,
Once
Oreos
it's, like,
are just
liquefied, though, nah.
Oreos are just like the hardtack of like whoopie pies.
The hardtack of whoopie pies. Jesus.
Give me that hardtack all day.
Yeah, really.
I don't know if that's relevant enough for me to put down as an episode title, but I like it.
Lottie, move.
Yeah, anyway, cream puffs are great, and I'm sure there's a cream puff company on the production committee somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm glad the ED at least like highlights that. I think that's fun.
It is that. I wouldn't even say it highlights it. It just is.
That's true.
Yeah, it's probably on like the lowest priority of shows that I watch, but this season is pretty strong for me, so that's still saying something. Like, I don't think I'll drop it anytime soon, but it's definitely not the one that I'm like, gotta sit down for Mashle.
Yeah, it is one of those like watch during your lunch kind of things.
Yeah, I can't imagine at this point that I'll ever give a shit what's going to happen in Mashle. I just might enjoy myself a little.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. I don't give two fucks.
Yeah, that's the one thing about the one comparison is at least one is
Yeah.
like an amazing writer. Like
Yeah.
Hajime Komoto is like not the most compelling writer, and like for the most part the character backgrounds and stuff like aren't anything to shake a stick at.
Yeah.
Shake your wand at, I guess.
You're right. I'm not saying this is like a one series. I'm saying it really wishes it was like a
Yeah.
one series.
For sure. Yeah.
How about we move on to a show that we do give a shit about? What happens to the people? And I want to talk about fucking Mobile Suit Gundam up in here because as I was watching the newest episode, I remember my friends and some people online in particular being like, "Man, when is this show gonna get serious?" And oh my god,
Preface: I've only watched the first two, so try to avoid spoilers if you can.
Oh, yeah,
no.
I'm way behind on that show, but I resigned till
Yeah,
like
I'm an
it's spoiled
episode
at this
behind.
point.
I haven't watched this week's yet.
oh, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, bring it on because it's been pretty slow to start so far.
I was gonna say the newest episode definitely like reveals a like it confirms something that a lot of people have been theorizing about. So I guess we can't talk about certain things. But
Guess
I
who's
mean, I
back
could
though,
just
baby?
like mute myself or mute my audio until you guys are done with it, and then you could tell me to come back in when it's safe.
I mean, I think it's a good practice that if one of us would get spoiled, a decent percentage of people listening would get spoiled.
It's
So
also fair.
Yeah, maybe we should just hold it for a spoiler cast.
Just be
Yeah.
vague.
yeah, I mean, I think we can talk enough about it without like talking about confirmed theories and stuff. I
Best
do
boys
like
back.
that the second season just is like bam, we're in it. Like
Yeah.
opening minutes, Suleta's just like destroying all these like P Bandai's like, and we got this new model kit, and we got this new model kit, and we got this new model kit, and they're all just fodder.
I liked that, and I also didn't like that because the first core ended on a really serious note, and I would have liked a little more touching upon that rather than just like avoiding the fallout of it immediately. And I'm sure it'll catch up, but just I wanted some closure or resolution in regard to that wild situation without having to wait.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of like how it's not so much that it moved on, but they're like piece by piece. They'll be like, "Oh, remember when this happened 2 weeks ago? Yeah, that was fucked up."
Yeah, I
like
get the
they'll just
move.
have like little things, but
It's
yeah,
really a creative decision. It's just like I don't know if it's the one I would have made, and I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like I wish that I got more.
I feel like for me, it's the end of last season was like a big moment, but just off of the pacing of the second season so far, I feel like that was simply a jumping off point because they are going in now, and it's like, oh, I thought stuff that's happening in the newest episode wasn't gonna like transpire for another like 5 or 6 episodes. They're like, nah, we're getting like to the meat of it. Things are gonna go down now, and it's like now I don't even know how far it's gonna go. But yeah, I feel like the happy school days are
Yeah.
behind us now.
Well, I had to get on goddamn Wikipedia at first because I had to remember how all these corporations interacted with each other and all these characters. I was like, oh, so much of this corporate espionage. I can't remember who's who up in here because
Yeah,
it
and
is
it's like,
quite complicated.
yeah, they're like, oh yeah, so the Benedict group is now they're going to show off some of their newest Gundams at this festival, and it's like Shadik's like, oh, I'm also going to play like both sides during this, and you're like, wait, what is his goal in this all again? There's definitely a little bit of confusion there.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've been enjoying it so far, and it's really gotten more into the school being just a facade for the corporation's like capitalist desires because they've talked about that a little bit, and it's like, oh, it's a school, yeah, but it's really like run by these corporations and meant as like a testing ground and all this other stuff. And now you're really starting to see that come to, I guess, for lack of better terms, like fruition.
Mm-hmm.
For for all the poor students that went there thinking it was just a normal school.
I think it's funny that they experience like this big traumatizing terrorist attack, and they don't like maximize security, and these girls just like enroll into the school. They're like, yeah, no, these new kids, yeah, for sure, throw them in Earth class, whatever.
Oh, they want to be pilots? Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, full clearance, let's go.
Full clearance, no questions asked.
Yeah.
I guess that's the power of Shadiq.
I will say both the OP and ED are slappers, but the ED especially is just so good.
Great visuals too.
The vocals are insane, and yeah, the visuals are awesome, and I think they will be recontextualized once you're caught up as well, DJ. But
Cool.
yeah, now that doesn't mean nothing, okay? But keep an eye out.
Yeah, I think the cliffhanger and then not addressing that. I feel like that's kind of common. I've seen that in a lot of like second seasons of stuff where the first season ends with a big cliffhanger. Like Code Geass is especially notorious for that. But
oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice to get to that bit a little bit quicker. But it kind of works as like a sword hanging over the whole deal. And yeah, like everyone has said, in the meantime, we're delving into some major shit here. And yeah, best character is back for a starring role. The question of why doesn't this line up with episode 0 starting to be addressed in very interesting ways. So yeah, we're getting into it. I'm looking forward to what reveals are to come.
Yeah, I hope everyone that has watched this show up to this point has realized that they really need to watch episode 0 to like make sense of what's gonna happen.
Who watches this without having watched episode 0?
I mean, usually you can start at episode 1 on a series.
Yeah, but like even like I'm pretty like Crunchyroll doesn't have an opposite like a separate category for episode 0. It's just like the first episode of this series. It's not like it's some like hidden OVA or something. It's just it's like literally in that same category.
Yeah, I guess usually they would put it in a different one if it wasn't mandatory. But still, I mean, I think given the track record of prologues and episode 0s and stuff, you could reasonably think that it's not absolutely essential to the story.
I had a similar reaction to the neglect of covering the end of the first season, but then as it goes on, I've kind of weirdly accepted it as like, well, this is what any corporation would do. They would try and cover it up and put a gag order on anybody who was a part of it, and then you just watch it fall apart. Which is, I mean, that's what happens all the time now. So I was like, it's somewhat frustrating as a viewer of a show, but it runs cohesively with the show and the type of like universe and environment that it has. Like, of course, these corporations are desperately going to try and cover it up and put a gag order on people so they can't talk about it under grave, consequences. So I've been having I think almost a better time watching everything else kind of unfold and knowing that the cover up is going to eventually fail and everything will just go to shit, rather than an immediate addressing and then everything just happens all at once. Especially because with Shadiq doing his thing and the Jeturk house kind of falling apart based off of the events of the first season and all this other stuff, like a lot of these corporations and these companies within the Venerate group are in various states of turmoil. So then watching them try to work together while also still trying to backstab each other, all the while terrorism stuff is happening, it's been interesting for me watching kind of all the plates start, like the spinning plates start to fall.
Yeah, and to be fair, they literally isolated Miorine from everything. So it's like we can't even really talk about it and get closure because her and Suleta haven't been able to talk since the incident. So they're just
which
kind of
I think is kind of they're
just stewing in their feelings.
right. That's kind of like the thing that needs to be addressed more than anything, because the whole first season, those two were basically together, and a big part of the series was their dynamic. So having them be separated and not gain closure on what happened, is it feels a little weird. But I'm sure it'll be a lot more effective when it finally happens.
How are they supposed to kiss if they're so far away?
Oh, see, this is where we
Don't
lose.
get it.
This is where we lose people right here. And by
This is where
people,
we
I mean
gain people
specifically.
because I'm the one who asks the questions we all want to know.
I was gonna say, I think this is the part where everyone starts tuning in.
Yeah.
No, I meant like losing the audience, like you know, like for the show, not for a podcast,
gotcha.
for the show. Yeah.
I don't know. I
Gotta
feel
keep
like
those
there's
girls
a
kissing.
yeah. I feel like Witch of Mercury is a nice balance of like the hardcore Gundam fans are watching and the Yuri baiters are watching.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they got me.
It's like how One Piece, they had all the otaku fandoms except idol fans, and then they got them with Film Red.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Come for the lesbians, stay for the psychological trauma. That's how you hook me.
I literally
Exactly.
saw a One Piece meme the other day that was like, I stopped watching One Piece because all of the boobies are way too big. And then the second comment, like, I started watching One Piece because look how big their boobs are.
Yep.
They're too big, though, to be fair.
Everybody in One Piece is built like a freak.
Yeah, the fucking body types are so strange in that show.
Yeah, but it's for horny 13-year-olds.
Yeah. Like, I get it.
You think
That's his style.
Oda's had time to see a woman in these 30 years he's been
He's
drawing
reproduced. He's got 2 daughters.
this thing?
And their mother is a Nami cosplayer, so there
Yep.
you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there is your answer.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yes, this all makes perfect sense.
I'm trying to think of. I want to say something about the newest episode. I'm trying to keep it as low spoilery as possible, other than your boy is back.
Yep.
And
Okay, I get it.
yeah, and it reminds me a lot of every time Chief O'Brien was the lead character on an episode of Star Trek. So it's not great, but it was I was happy to see that continue, because that shit went hard at the end of the first season too. So
Yeah. He stay being dragged through the mud.
Mhm. Yeah, he's had a rough fucking go.
yeah, I feel like every episode he's gonna be in is just gonna be like, oh, I guess it's time to beat up Guel again.
Yeah, this is just like 24 minutes of his suffering.
Yeah, we can shift then, since we want to avoid talking about the stuff that happens in the one, at least until DJ watches it. So, let's see. I know, Brian, you were talking about how there wasn't anything that particularly like stood out to you, but what show do you most look forward to watching that we haven't talked about yet?
I feel like we're gonna have to talk about this eventually, and because it's definitely like one of the big, like it's the one that is getting the most attention right now. But I think Oshi no Ko is the show that surprised me the most. But that's because the first episode / feature length film was like rug pull after rug pull after rug pull, and I'm like, oh, so that's the big twist of what this show is going to be about. And then they're like 10 minutes later, oh no, wait, that's the big twist, and then it just happened for 90 minutes straight. But yeah, so who's all watching this?
You and Kestrel.
Okay. Yeah, that shit was fucked up.
Next show.
Next show.
Kess, are you writing about it, or
I am, yep.
Okay. I want to hear your thoughts a bit, because I feel like I don't have as probably an in-depth things to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard on 2 levels, hard to like consolidate all my thoughts about it, and hard to talk about what the show is about without giving away those spoilers that make those 90 minutes so effective.
Yeah.
I think, that feature film, for all intents and purposes, is like a perfect standalone prologue for, the foundation of the series. And yeah, it just has so many twists and emotional gut punches and is so well made all around that I was just blown away by it.
I think
but-
from what I know, the first episode / movie thing covers like the entirety of the first volume.
That makes
So
sense.
it's just like, and I also think it was a really smart move to do it that way.
Yeah.
Because this is a show, at least for that prologue, where I think the audience is better off just being blindsided
Mhm.
by the end of it. Whereas like if they split that into the first 3 episodes, so many like theory crafting and things can go on that like it might spoil the surprise for some people. Whereas like just getting hammered with the introduction of the show, you're just like, oh shit, I was not expecting any of that.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely like really well paced, and yeah, I can't imagine it being nearly as effective with that being spread over however many weeks it originally ran for. Because yeah, getting it all at once and then having that kind of like closure of, okay, this was all to set up for what the show is going to be like normally going forward. To have that all consolidated within a single, basically, film makes a lot of sense from just like a structure standpoint. And yeah, I think, especially when it was running the manga, like, nobody knew it was going to happen, so it's safe. But with the anime, no matter what, a show is going to generate a lot more discussion and research and just checking stuff out after the first episode drops, especially if it's really well made, which every part of this was. So if this, only covered up to the first twist or whatever, and one, wouldn't be nearly as impactful, and two, people would start, looking on the internet and having conversations about it and stuff, and yeah, the spoilers from manga readers would come out much more readily.
Yeah.
That's still running, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that old. It's only been running for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I think the English volumes are only like maybe 2 or 3 in anyways.
Oh, okay.
But I think the non-spoiler, but kind of giving a synopsis of like the type of show it is that I've been telling people, it's that the Kaguya author had a baby that's one part Perfect Blue and one part Erased. That's kind of like what I've been like. I'm like, just to give them like a semblance of an idea without saying anything.
Yeah, I mean, the Erased bit, there are a lot of series that like really do that part. This isn't quite that, but I kind of get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Perfect Blue comparison definitely lands, and it's also like, it's, even as it goes on, it's becoming that in more ways, because it was already about the idol aspect and the stalker aspect, and now it's starting to explore like acting more as well. So it's got a lot of those covered. And I think what's interesting about the first episode is how many different facets of the idol industry and fandom it covers. Like, it shows you the really dark depths of it. But throughout the series, in the first episode and going forward, it's also very positive about fandom and people who are really passionate about idols and being idols for the right reasons, and people who really care about them genuinely and love them. So you get to see the highest highs and lowest lows of that spectrum. So like I said, it's as Perfect Blue as it is Love Live, because it's sincere about idols and how people can love them, and idols can want to express their love through their work, but at the same time you see how dark that can get, especially from the fan side of it.
Yeah, like the two main characters literally portray like the deepest cynicisms and the deepest optimisms of the idol industry.
Right. Perfect. Ideal. Yeah.
As our resident idol guy, what are your thoughts on this, DJ?
I I don't have. Okay, this show's hard for me to talk about because I was looking forward to this for a long time.
Mm.
And I think it is a classic case of my expectations were too high and also wrong. Um, I'm glad that I didn't look into what the series was about at all because that in itself would be a spoiler.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wish I was more prepared for, I guess, the tone that I'd be jumping into. And I was saying it to Kestrel when we first talked about the show, but I guess for some reason I didn't think it was going to be as comedic as it was, and that's on me because it's Aka Akasaka, and
Yeah.
that's just like that's what he does, and he's so good at it. But there's just it created this situation where not only was the show not how I was expecting the show to feel, but the comedic aspects of it kind of completely took me out of it, and I had a harder time latching on to the more serious aspects that I've seen in other darker idol shows. Because, as you said, the Resident, but I watch all the idol shows,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of shows that touch on all of those aspects that the Love Live-ish ones don't normally venture into. And this does that really well, but it also does a lot of other things that I don't like in any anime. And I feel like the inclusion of those kind of worsened my ranking of this. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, that can't really even be a thing anymore because of how the story progresses.
Mhm.
And on one side, I'm like, that's good because I don't have to worry about those things that I didn't like existing anymore. But at the same time, it's like, why did they have to exist at all if they were only going to be there for that prologue? And I get it. It's just, it hasn't really sat with me long enough yet. And I'm sure I'll grow to like it more in time.
Mhm.
It's just, I think I need time to grow with it and rehone my expectations because it is masterfully put together and it was such a great pilot. I just wish that those things that I wasn't expecting hit me the way it hit a lot of other people in a more successful manner.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I also knew nothing about the series going in, but I think the only expectations I had were roughly opposite that because I was like, oh, it's Akasaka. It's probably like a comedy. It's probably going to be hilarious. So the fact that it is mostly like a dark, serious psychological drama was what surprised me a lot more. And I think those comedic moments, I think he just has such a good sense of humor, and I think both Kaguya-sama and this have such strong adaptations, and that extends to like the comedic timing and the direction that even though it is mostly not a comedy at all, it's still the show that has like actually made me laugh every episode this season, which was also the case for Kaguya-sama. Because when it does, pull out something funny, it's very funny and very successful at it. And yeah, I'm just shocked at how well made it all is because like I've never really given a shit about Doga Kobo. This is
I love them. I'm glad they made this because that's like putting them on the map kind of.
Yeah.
It was like the opposite of what I was saying with Mashle, where like I had to double check myself 2 or 3 times because I'm like, what? They can't make something that looks this good.
They're good at cute girls, and so this is a good show for them. That's
I
why I was
guess,
like, okay,
but-
it works.
Them eyes, though.
Yeah, guys.
The eyes for Aqua and Ruby are a little jarring, I think, because of
Yeah.
like the 50-50. But
Yeah.
eyes, which is a weird
And it's
combination of words, are really nice.
it's interesting too how like when Aqua will start like talking like really darkly about stuff, like his eye will literally like turn dark and almost like exceed out of the border
Yeah.
of his eye.
Oh, sometimes it goes way out of the border. Totally.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here?
Yeah, like this dude has Gias or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree with what you were saying, DJ, about it's gonna take some time to kind of settle with where the show's direction is after the prologue because
Yeah.
I feel like the prologue movie is going to be very divisive. Where people will have expectations or no expectations, and what they get at the end of it might not be the show they are wanting to watch. And I feel like for some people, maybe they'll watch the prologue and be like, okay, that was sick, but like I'm not interested in what they're going to do now.
Yeah,
from
I know a
here.
bunch of people like that because
Yeah,
it is
same.
sort of like a bait and switch type situation where what you think that you're watching is not actually what you're watching. And I like that aspect of it. It was the tonal whiplash, which is normally a thing that I'm into, but I guess I wasn't expecting it to exist in this series, and just that difference in expectations kind of threw me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's, obviously impossible for the series for the next few episodes to be anything like the first episode, anything compared to it. So it did kind of, dig itself into a little bit of a hole with that, where it's like, yeah, all right, now let's see if we actually have any reason to give a shit about this story. Because if you loved the first episode, you don't necessarily care about the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of an unfortunate situation that it got itself into by having such a strong and impactful first episode, and one that is so standalone as a prologue. But hopefully, with all the great people involved in the original source material as well as the adaptation and just how much care they're putting into it, I have hopes that it will be a really strong product throughout. And I'm that even more shocked than I am about the studio is just the main staff. Like, nobody in the main staff is anyone I've ever heard of, anyone who has any notable or exceptional credits to their name. And I feel like they're all just knocking it out of the park. They're doing incredible work.
Yeah. I think at the very least, this show is like pushing the bill in a way that is enticing enough to want to keep watching. Because this is a very sequel heavy season, and like we all kind of know what to expect from a lot of the shows this season, whereas this is the one where I really don't know what to expect. And I think that's almost enough for me to keep watching. Agreed.
And yeah, the fact that it has been running for 3 years or whatever, weekly, I think, does make me curious. Like, I did watch today's episode during lunch so that I could be caught up for this episode. And, it's like Aqua's starting to, get to his goal. Well, no, he's not, because there's hundreds of chapters to come. So how many of these situations will he think that he's almost there? And will that be like the ultimate goal of it? Will he get his answer, but then some other great ordeal gets in the way of, like, getting closure? It's really hard to talk about the show.
I know, right? We're like tiptoeing everywhere.
Yeah.
I think we've done pretty well so far.
Yeah. No, it's just like, well, what words can I use here? So I am very curious, like, even now, what the show is really about. And I do appreciate that, like, I'm not the idol guy. I appreciate cynical stories about idols more than sincere ones, generally. But getting to, explore show business in general, and the fact that they're doing it for, not just like the idol industry, but film and TV industry, both in front of and behind the camera. Those are all things that I'm really into. So I'm glad that it's exploring that in, again, some cynical, some genuine ways, and kind of the blend of that. Like the shitty little kid from episode 1 has grown up to be like, the actor that you want to love and put all your support behind. And I think she's a great character just from today's episode. So, all of those aspects are kind of like, they're not what the show's declared intent is as of the end of episode 1. But I think they really enrich the world and the characters and their relationships, and just add a level of depth to it that makes it more than just, the basic premise that it set forward at the end of that prologue.
Yeah, I think kind of touching on what you said earlier, even though I don't know exactly how long it will take for the characters to like reach their goals, I do have faith in the original creator enough that like I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, because like I was saying, similar things, like very different context, but a similar kind of concept behind the beginning of Kaguya-sama, where I'm like, how could this possibly go on for hundreds of chapters? And then Akasaka, subverts all expectations and shows how incredible he is, even at working within like, basic tropes and confines. So now I feel like this is, I don't know, Akasaka Unbound. Like this is not like your basic premise that he has to find ways of subverting. He did all the subverting in episode 1, so now he gets to just play in his world. Now that he's, because he's an established author at the point that he started this series. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does when there are kind of, he has a lot more freedom because he's established as a great creator, a successful creator. And especially since like, now he's only writing the series. He did do it with Kaguya-sama, overlapping it for a few years there. And he's only writing it, he's not drawing it. So, I feel like his intentional move to stop drawing probably indicated that, yeah, he just wants to focus on writing. And so to have him completely focused on this story makes me really interested in what directions he'll take it in.
I didn't realize he started writing this while Kaguya was still going. That's crazy.
Yeah, because Kaguya just ended at the end of last year, and this started in like early 2020. So there was a good 2.5 years that they were running simultaneously.
Is the artist known for anything?
Yeah, Scum's Wish.
Oh, okay.
Be good.
Yeah, I really like that combination because I think she's really
They
good.
work really well together.
Yeah, she's really good as an artist. He's really good as a writer, and their styles blend really well for this kind of project. If Akasaka wants to tell a dark kind of story, then yeah, Mengo Yokoyari is a great artist to execute that.
That's cool.
All right, that about covers it. At least as much as you can talk about it, seems.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good.
We didn't slip up.
No.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, then let's shift gears a little bit here, and let's just talk about a show that makes everybody feel warm, and that's Skip and Loafer. And enough of this heavy stuff.
This isn't heavy at all.
No, that's what makes it nice.
Yeah. I am happy that you like this show, if you still like it, assuming you still like it.
No, I think it's great.
Cool. Yeah. It's really different from what PA Works normally does, and I'm all about it.
It's got a lot of stuff that I personally relate to, which is nice, but also I personally relate to in not a remotely traumatic way, which is great too. So
Right.
like the fish out of water, country bumpkin into the city was, not on the same scale for me when I was younger, but I grew up in a town, one stoplight, Amish farms everywhere. The cool place to hang out was a fucking gas station. So like a lot of that kind of stuff that is in this show. And then when I moved for college and then out here into even just smaller cities, there was still some adjustments and things of that nature. So it's got that, and just like the character dynamics and the main character, how she struggles somewhat with like anxiety and things is nice. In that I also, and my wife and I both deal with anxiety in similar ways that she does. So it was fun seeing that, and to be honest, it was fun seeing a character have struggles with anxiety that didn't immediately turn it up to like 13 and then it's crippling.
Yeah.
Which sometimes, and it's not only anime, but just like a lot of media tends to be like, if this person has anxiety, it has to be an absolutely crippling disorder. And it's just not. So, and what's the main character's name? I can't remember. There's so many people in this show.
Iwakura is her last name. I can't remember her first name.
yeah.
It's an M. Mitsumi?
Yeah, I knew it was an M, but I didn't want to take a wild swing because I knew I'd be fucking wrong. But yes, like Mitsumi expresses anxiety in ways that are much more relatable in in the way that I go about my life and stuff, like the way that she plans out entire conversations beforehand and tries to think where they would all go and spends a lot of time doing that or things of that nature. Plus the show is just funny in ways that I like as well, from the mother duck duckling thing when Mitsumi first goes to the city to a poop joke in the middle of the first episode that I laughed probably way too hard at. But yeah, I really like the show, so I'm glad it's around. I'm glad I gave it a shot because I didn't really think I was going to, and then I figured, why not get out of comfort zone a little bit. I actually wanted to ask you folks here, and it seems like it is, but is this a good show, or is this a good show for me because I have no basis of what like a rom-com anime is? Because this is just not what I watch.
I think it's a good show in that it is a well-made deviation from the typical shoujo formula, where in like 99% of other cases where you have a show where like a country girl moves to the city, there's always the handsome guy, and then she like falls hopelessly in love with him. And while there are like some slight feelings of that, that is absolutely not the focal point of this show. And instead of there being a lot of misunderstandings, which I know you hate, Kane, the
Yeah, not
characters
my
sort of
favorite
just, like,
storytelling
mesh
device.
together. They like mesh immediately. And what I was hoping we would get, and I have been thinking this ever since I saw their uniforms, which reminded me of Kimi ni Toroke. That was a shoujo series that focused heavily on friendship, and it wasn't just romance. It was all of the side characters are important to the show, and we have, even though it's early on in this series, we have hints of that in all of the side characters having their own backgrounds that I'm sure we'll get more into, but they seem to be there as more than just filler. It's like an actual group of students who are living their student lives, and it's a much more modern, realistic approach to high school romance than you typically get out of this genre.
Yeah, that's huge. What you said about the way that it's changing things, because what I also don't like about high school I'm just gonna call it a rom com, even though they're not all
Fair.
rom coms, but is the whole, and this is why I don't like uh fucking what's his name, but is the romance is like head over heels, like complete and total infatuation. And this looks more like you said, it's like an ensemble thing. There's some feelings of romance I'm sure will kind of blossom, but it isn't like we're getting 3 episodes in and Mitsumi's like, I'm just gonna shoot a cop for you.
Yeah, it's not that at all. It's a much more grounded approach, and it reminds me kind of in a much less comedic way, but it reminds me of how Horimiya sort of approached all relationships, where it's like an important aspect of the world, but there's a lot more going on, and it's like just talking to other people in general is what is important. And there have been zero misunderstandings or miscommunications so far because the characters actually talk shit over in this, which is cool. You don't really
Yeah,
get
it
that
was
often.
it was incredibly refreshing to see, and I don't think I watched, if there's a new episode like this week, I haven't seen it yet, but the last episode with the whole the really popular blonde girl and the nerdy girl, and how you could tell there was some discomfort between them based off of just, the glasses Chan,
Mm.
just having your typical, well, all the popular people are, you know, not my type, and I'm very sort of insular and introverted. But then when they finish the episode with like a text message of, acknowledging that and then saying, but I would like to get better, I'm like, see, this is how easy this
This is
is.
how it should be.
This is how it should be. Just talk to people and try to be, and try to grow as a person and not just double down on the stuff you don't like. So I think I breathed like an enormous sigh of relief when that happened, because I was like, oh my goodness, they're actually going to try to get to know each other.
What a relief.
What a
Yeah.
relief.
It's good.
Yeah, and there's definitely whispers and evidence of some, man, even saying like a dark past feels like it's overblown depending on what actually happens. But like with the main love interest and his apparent like child actor past,
there's something there, and
there's something there, but until we figure out more,
caretaker too. There's like a scene where they're on the train, and there's like girls in the background where it's like, is that a dude? And the camera just like goes like black and white for a second, and then it goes back to normal, and it's like, okay, well, there's something here, and it's probably going to be explored at some point, but let's not blow it out of proportion for right now.
Yeah, and for the love of God, don't make that like a comedic moment, which they didn't do. So
they're taking it seriously, it seems.
Yeah, seems pretty transpositive for that character.
Yeah, there was no LGBT panic moment.
Yeah,
or anything like that, where the characters get all fucking weird and then a weird joke happens. So I like that as well. Yeah, it's pretty positive about it.
I think it's like the best possible treatment where all the characters you care about really love and respect her and don't think that anything's weird, and then shitty background characters in public are like whispering about it, because that does exist. There is that stigma in society, so to not acknowledge that wouldn't be as realistic either. So I think it's a good way to address it.
She's Mitsumi's aunt? Is that that's their relationship, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. Yeah, and then they're living together while she goes to this fancy Tokyo high school and such.
So I'm guessing neither of you watched yesterday's episode?
Is that the one with the other student council girl with the glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that.
Okay. Because I
liked her.
They get into the child acting backstory a bit more, so I just wasn't
a bit
sure.
more. Yeah.
That's cool. That'll be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think show is very charming. I agree actually with what Kane was saying about like the being able to relate to the fish out of water growing up in rural countryside. And
you've done it more than me at this point,
right?
In that way.
Did it again a few months ago, didn't you?
Yeah, almost a year ago now. Yeah, and like I really like see myself and appreciate when characters like that are like really excited about the big city, because that's totally me. And
just going to a Starbucks. Well,
exactly.
Whatever they called it in this.
Right. Yeah, just that, the gradual moves throughout my life from like as rural as you can get to I live in LA now. And every step of the way, I'm just like fascinated. I'm a little duckling just in awe. And, I need the people who are familiar in these environments to like guide me through, be my grown-up duck to get me through these situations, because I have no frame of reference for how to deal with it from growing up. So yeah, seeing characters like that, it's the same thing. Like, I wrote an article about the Suzume thing in Shinkai a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's the guy.
Shinkai? Oh, is that what you were trying to get to at some point?
Yeah, that I don't like Shinkai stuff mainly because the romance is so over the top.
Oh, I see. You might like Suzume. But anyway, when I was talking about him, and I don't know, I guess just talking about being in the city and being able to go to like these events and stuff, I was basically like, I am Mitsuha in your name. I would yell out in the countryside that I just want to be reincarnated and live in the big city. And then when she finally gets to Tokyo and sees the majesty of it and is just blown away in ways that all the people who've lived there their whole lives can't relate to, I'm like, yeah, that's totally me. So yeah, I really appreciate that aspect of it. And I guess it's the same thing with like, what's her name? Girl from Jujutsu Kaisen a little bit. But yeah, Nobara, yeah, Kugisaki. So yeah, that aspect of it was like a weird little surprise that I really appreciate. And yeah, everything else you said I agree with. It's cute, it's charming. it doesn't try to take itself too seriously or make romance like the biggest thing in the universe to the characters. It's just kind of like a nice little high school story about an eccentric female protagonist. I think, like, when I said this before, when I started watching the show, I was like going through each of the people on the podcast. I was like, oh, they're gonna like this show. Oh, they're really gonna like this show. So I kind of expected, like, I know Kate doesn't watch anything, but I was like, ooh, if Kate watches anything, this show is totally for her. But then I was like, oh, this is totally the kind of romance that would actually work for Kane, isn't it? And I was like, oh, DJ does like shows like this too, even though it's a little bit, away from his usual tropes.
I love shoujo.
Yeah, totally.
I really do.
And especially this kind of like, tempered, subtle shoujo where, it's not extreme drama and romance.
It's not like 10-year-old girl shoujo. It's
exactly.
like teenage girl shoujo,
right.
like 16, 17.
Yeah, it's starting to like border the josei demographic.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's still like, very, very, just not as dramatic as that tends to be either. It's very grounded, but
the more grounded, the better. It's why I like Bodokoi so much.
Yeah. For a show. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is gonna be another one of those seasons where I regret not watching the PA Works show.
Right.
Just always watch the PA Works show.
I really should.
This is what you should do.
Yeah, this one's for me on the borderline of like I'm watching too many shows and it's like just not at the threshold. But we'll see. I might pick it up. Sounds cute and fluffy. I need more of that.
Yeah, it is cute and fluffy for sure, but the characters are also like well written and interesting, and their interactions are good. So it isn't just like puffery. There's meat on that bone.
Okay.
I can't think of many female protagonists who have like come into the show being like, I want to be in politics, which is like a cool thing for her to do.
Yeah, she seems to have like
She's got a fucking plan.
Yeah, she's got a plan, at least at
like,
this point.
I am going to remake Japan because no one gives a shit about the countryside. And she's like 15. Good for you.
She has her entire life planned out.
Yeah,
they do that flash forward where she's the mayor sitting in like the limo.
As an old lady. Flashing back on her high school days.
Yeah, flashing forward and then flashing back.
She's great.
Yeah. The kind of personality that can view your current 15-year-old life through the context of this is how I will look back on this and recount it as like an 85-year-old successful politician. That's that character in a nutshell.
Sounds like the exact opposite of Bochi, where she looks back and she's like, oh, maybe I will just be like a loner for my whole life and drink beer in my closet and cry.
Right, yeah. Yeah, she sees the bad end
already.
Yeah, but she only sees the bad end, and I guess she sees some like unrealistically positive scenarios that can happen. Like, the one person will see the show and will become huge stars, and then I'll be super popular. So yeah, she sees the bad end and the good end,
and it all goes away.
Right, exactly. Very easily deflated.
Would I have to talk to people?
Yeah, just literally pops. Yeah.
You heard about the mangaka of that series being sent outside at Comiket, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the most Bochi ass story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I was at what was it? Anime Los Angeles, I think. And there was a Bochi cosplayer just like sitting in the back corner of the panel room with like nobody else in any of the next 5 rows.
Amazing
character.
Perfect.
Really embodying the character.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, I talked about Bochi when that came out, and that was I saw myself and my anxiety in her a lot more. It is obviously a lot more exaggerated than this. This gives a much more grounded view into it. I think Bochi gave a really good like articulation of how that feels internally. at least in my experience, of like this is how exaggerated and intense it feels, even when it's trivial from the outside, and they get to like work that into the comedy a little bit. But yeah, from just basic like grounded storytelling, this is a good depiction of, yeah, like Kane said, anxiety that is not crippling, which exists a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else for Skip and Loafer?
Kate, you'll like it.
Okay, put it on the list of things that I have not watched that I need to watch.
A list that you will never touch.
A
It rivals
backlog.
most people's Steam games list.
I have not touched well, actually, I did watch one episode of Made in Abyss, but other than that, I haven't touched my to be watched list in years.
Oh.
Yeah, you suck at that.
There's so many currently airing things that I
that
just
is the big
never have
problem
time to
with
like
this.
watch something that's not currently airing.
No, I definitely get that. I'm that way with movies. I watch
Yeah, I
like
barely watch
52
movies
movies. Yeah, I watch like 52 movies a year, but then I haven't seen like all of these essential classics.
Yeah,
Again.
I haven't fucking seen E.T. Like, who hasn't seen E.T.?
E.T.'s E.T. is meh.
Mid.
Mid.
Oh.
As the kids say.
Yeah, but
Mid.
that's in a movie that people have seen.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to enjoy it, but like, everyone knows what E.T. is.
It's an important piece of
Spielberg, baby.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Be thankful you weren't dragged to some other kid you don't give a shit about's like birthday party when you were 4 and had to watch E.T.
Very specific.
That's a very specific. Yeah, that's an incredibly specific example.
Yeah, that's
Wonder
my
if that
problem.
happened to someone here.
Yeah. That's my problem. I can never set aside the time to go watch a movie, but I'll watch fucking 12 animes during a season. And
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier to. I mean, it feels a lot easier to be like, yeah, I just have to invest 24 minutes a week instead of, this is 12 to 26 plus episodes that I got a marathon through. But yeah, if you're watching 18 shows, then it kind of doesn't work because you're watching 18 episodes every
I did
week.
not expect to watch this many shows this season, especially when I ended last season saying, you know what, I'm going to cut back on the amount of
Never
shows
again.
that I watch, and I'm watching more. So,
Well, 2 of them you're not watching yet.
true. Yeah, list is a little inflated, but they'll pick back up eventually. All right, so do we want to talk about one of the big guns, or do we want to talk about something smaller?
I want to get Kate involved in the conversation, so
So that leaves us with 2
Pick your
options.
poison.
Yeah,
I wanna
it
talk
leaves
about-
us with one show that we talk about every week or every time we record, and one other show.
talk about Dr. Stone.
Hey, Dr. Stone.
Let's talk about E.T..
Yeah.
Kate has watched E.T. We all know exactly how it happened.
Dr. Stone's back. They picked up after a special that I didn't know existed that came out last summer.
Yeah.
At random.
Kind of gotta watch it too.
Yeah, you have to.
Who is this Ryusu guy?
Yeah, I started up the new episode of the season. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I was so confused. I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah, I
What
was
the hell's
not
going
expecting
on?
that. Usually, TV specials are not absolutely essential connecting pieces for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think it's weird. Maybe they just knew the format for the new season, like had only so much time that they needed to just push it off. But it is kind of weird.
Yeah,
It was a very, very strange way of doing things. But, yeah. Dr. Stone's back. Pushing the premise of how far does science go, where they mix very real factoids into absolute nonsense.
It's great too because like from the first first season or 2, it's like, oh, how do we make essential things like soap and light and all this? And now it's just like exponential. They're like, we're gonna create a fully functioning camera and we're gonna do this and that. And let me tell you, it only gets crazier from here. And it's like, oh yeah, they definitely can't make that, but okay.
The
So
camera thing kills me too because it's all like, they're like, yeah, we're gonna make daguerreotypes. And I was like, no. I'm like, that's like super toxic, also super fragile. And yeah, they're not. That does not come across at all in the show. They're like, yeah, this is how we're gonna do this, and I'm like, yeah. And then if you breathe on it, the image disappears essentially, and they're not really like they were like, and they're just tossing the things around, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I
that wasn't.
for some reason had so much anxiety with Senku just like holding the camera over while they're like in the hot air balloon. I was like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
god, please don't drop it.
Yeah, and that wasn't even like one of the big, huge roadmaps, and this is going to take a few episodes to gather all the materials and everything. That was just like a throwaway. Okay, now we have a bunch of cameras.
Yeah.
It's like 1 to 5 minutes, maybe.
I was like, that's the photography system you want to go with? That's what you want to go with? I know. Magical beam that turned everybody to stone. But
Yeah, the
Like-
premise itself kind of lends
Yeah.
itself like, all right, there's a bit of suspension disbelief. We can get to here.
Yeah, I always refer to Dr. Stone as the smartest and the dumbest show I watch because you learn a lot about science and really well-researched things that go into creating these things that we take for granted. But it's also really fucking ridiculous and over the top and unbelievable.
it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Every character is just the most
Yes.
whatever they are. Taken to the most extreme of whatever that is.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
all
they're
the
all
dudes
very
are
extra.
Yeah, they're all very extra, and all the dudes are buff as hell, even if it makes no fucking sense for them to be.
The old man like rolling up in the full suit and then just
That was so
busting out of
good.
it. I love that.
That was so good. It was so good when they're like, "Hey, random fashion show," and then he just comes out and he's total swag,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and it's like, "Oh no, hot grandpa," and then he goes back to being like goofball in like the next scene or whatever, and then he rolls up later and he's hot grandpa again. I'm like, okay, show, you gotta stop doing this.
Oh no, he's
Yeah.
hot.
The Ryusui special, I don't know if I would have known that you need to watch it if I didn't happen to watch I don't know if it was the world premiere. Yeah, I think it was the world premiere at Anime Expo last year. And which, while watching it, I was like, wait, this seems important. That's strange for a TV special. And it was. But during that showing, you got a bunch of weebs in a room. They're going to cheer at everything that happens. But when Hot Grandpa showed up, they fucking lost their minds. Like nothing compared to Old Man in a Suit. Nothing. Not even close.
Not even all the crazy proportioned girls in the show.
Nope. All about that dapper old man. So, Brand, have you read... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have read all of Dr. Stone, so I've read it to its completion, and I've read there's like some spin-off stuff later too. But it's enjoyable so far because it's still in that like happy-go-lucky, let's like create things and just have a good time. But I am interested once it picks up because there is going to be like a big like dramatic narrative point eventually. And I'm really, I don't know, like I love the lightheartedness of this early stuff, but I don't know why I'm like excited to get back into like the dramatic stuff because I feel like most people think that the Stone Wars segment was maybe one of the weaker parts of the show, and I still enjoyed it, but yeah, I think the dramatic point of this new season is going to be a lot more enticing and build a little bit on the mystery of how the world ended and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask you is like, how far in are we? How much does it change? And does it conclude like satisfyingly?
So there's definitely going to be a point when it gets dramatic again where it's not as exponential a growth in like technology and creating things. But then after they get through this big dramatic story driven arc, it once again just goes like through the roof. They start making like crazy technological advances and it's really wild, and I'm curious what people will think once it like really turns it to 11 for that stuff. But I think this upcoming part is going to be the biggest like dramatic piece before they do some real like world exploring stuff.
I'm just horribly disappointed in Senku because like this season starts and they're like, what do we need? Oil and capitalism. And I'm all like, yep, okay, let's speed run the extinction of humanity the second time. Here we go.
Yeah, I think it's really funny. They buy into the capitalism thing like pretty big, but like to a comedic level, but like also it's funny how they drive capitalism into this very small society they're creating.
Yeah, and it also shows exactly how broken that is too, which is hilarious because they're like, you dumbasses. Like, what did you do?
Yeah, that's why I like Ryusui as a character, is because he has like the ambitions of Senku, but for totally more like egotistical reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, I do find it amusing that the chief invention of the Ryusui special was capitalism.
So it's so silly. It's so silly. Although the last episode that just aired last week, the ending of that was like kind of chilling, like kind of like fucked up. Like, not gonna lie.
Yeah, and I mean that was what made it seem like we are getting right into it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, that's Morse code. Hey, what's it spelling out? It's like,
Yeah.
Definitely some horror movie vibes on that ending, but very ominous.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool once the stakes turn up a bit too, because that's what's great about these levity moments of them just like having fun building stuff, is that eventually it's not like Gintama, but it's like it in the sense that like we're all just having fun here, and then oh no, wait, they're all their lives are going to be threatened very fast, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I know. It's like we need ship's biscuits. Okay, here we go. They're gonna make hardtack. Nope, stolen. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did you get the Wait, when did they invent sugar? Did I miss that? Did they do that last season? I can't remember. Oh my god. I was
How
like,
many
what is going
hardtack
on?
references can we fit into one podcast episode?
It's just like, I'm like, stolen? You made stolen? Oh. Then I really wanted stolen, and then that just made me mad. It's like, they don't make stolen at this time of year around here. Come on.
I crave cream puffs. Kate craves stolen.
Ugh, it's all good. Yeah. Dr. Stone continues to be good and still looks really good. So.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to capture Boichi's art because it's so detailed, but I do think the anime does a good enough job.
Yeah. You get the basic designs, you gotta simplify them a bit for animation. Makes sense.
Yeah. I think it really helps too, getting the like roadmap stuff animated, because sometimes just looking at all of that intricately drawn on a manga page is like, it hurt my head because I like binged this arc of Dr. Stone when I was reading it, and it like I had to take breaks for sure.
That makes sense. You have the camera there to guide your eyes instead of just being overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next show.
I say we good to go there?
I think so.
Blended. All right, so how about we move to... I'm torn between talking about Demon Slayer and Hell's Paradise, so I'm going to make Kestrel decide.
I don't know. You said Demon Slayer first. We'll talk about Demon Slayer.
As good of a reason to choose as any. Kestrel, what do you think? I've waited a while to start watching it until I was done being mad at the theater experience that I had.
Oh no!
But now that that's gone, I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. It still is what it is. Like, I feel like at this point, it just everybody knows what you're going to get out of this show.
Exactly.
Did you see Mugen Train in theater, or
no? I watched it at home.
Okay. What movie experience? What are you talking about?
That it wasn't a movie.
That it wasn't a movie.
Oh, I see.
And Kestrel was like, you should have known that. And I was like, nobody in the theater that I was at knew that. And it was advertised like, I'm not going to talk about it too much because it is what it is. But I didn't really do any research into it. I was like, oh, it's in a movie theater. It has its own dedicated poster. It's called the Swordsmith Village arc. So I figured they were just doing another movie and we were going to go like series movie to cover this, which I thought was a cool idea. And then it turns out it was not a movie. In fact, it was split basically half and half between the end of the Entertainment District arc and the beginning of the Swordsmith Village arc. So then everybody sat in the theater and watched a couple episodes of anime.
Yeah, so for those who didn't know that this happened, they didn't even like make a compilation movie. They just straight up showed the episodes, opening and ending and preview and all, straight as it would be streaming off Crunchyroll.
Which made it even worse.
That's rough.
Because if it was a compilation movie, that'd be at least cooler, because then I'm getting a movie, so to speak. But instead, no, you got the opening and ending every goddamn time.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Give you like a break to go to the bathroom or like get some popcorn. But that's weird. So like you caught the end, like the final fight of Entertainment District into the first like couple episodes of the new arc?
You didn't even get the final fight. You got the end of the fight.
Yeah, because the fight takes up like half the season. Yeah, you got the last 2 episodes of last season and the first double-length episode of this season.
Oh.
And it had an extremely successful box office gross because Demon Slayer is so popular, you can literally just throw episodes up on the big screen and people will come out in droves.
I guess that's why they did it, but
yeah, exactly. Like they've already used
why put any extra effort in if you know that people are going to watch it anyway?
Right. They've already used their like Mugen Train card where they're like, all right, you have to watch the movie for it to make sense. But then they're like, we'll just put it in TV season 2, so you don't actually have to have watched the movie in theaters.
We'll give you 5 minutes new content just to strike your fancy.
But like, knowing that that's what they'll do if they have a full theatrical movie, people would be like, well, we don't need to go to the movies and make this the most successful Japanese film of all time. So knowing that they're not going to get that kind of audience anymore, they can just be like, well, let's just put in 0 effort and just show the episodes that they already saw years ago and the new one that we've already got queued up to run on TV in a month, and they'll still pay a decent amount. We've put in no effort or money. Win-win.
I got duped. We got duped. Bunch of marks, all of us.
It is fascinating how much it is treated and marketed as a legitimate feature film when it is nothing of the source.
Like, I'm glad you're recognizing that at least. I remember our first conversation. You were like, "Wait, you didn't know this?" I was like,
my point was, you are not the casual layman. You are on an anime podcast where we would have talked about it if there was a new Demon Slayer movie. But yeah, no, I get it. It is crazy how much it's treated like a real movie.
Like, not a great
poster's cool though. So it's got that going for it.
I've got that on a shirt for the Demon Slayer to the Swordsmith Village world tour for their LA stop there, which was that plus Ame performed, so it was worth it.
Now, the show itself, now that we've had the double length episode and a couple more, I honestly don't really have a ton to say or know what to say other than I like what this Hashira brings to the table because he is so 180 degrees different from all of the others, where he's not boisterous or outgoing.
Mm-hmm.
He's unknowingly arrogant and shitty.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not someone that Tanjiro, at least right away in the beginning, is gonna latch onto and have this close relationship with, or at least amicable relationship. It's young prodigy kid with his piece of shit bird, just kind of doing whatever they have to do to succeed. And Tanjiro is very much save everybody all the time, and he's more do whatever it takes to complete the mission for the most part. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But other than that, it's Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think interestingly enough, the thing that I've been captured by the most for this season so far was the first episode that focused on the uppers, like the upper demons.
Mhm.
Of course, like the 3D cinematics for like the shifting rooms are as cool as they've ever been and look great. But it's also cool to see the inner workings of the uppers kind of just like talking to each other and like bantering, and like obviously none of them are on the same page here. Um, and that the one I always mix up the numbers. I don't remember if he's 3 or 4, but the one that was in Mugen Train, I'm very interested to see how they explore his character more than just like, he's the enemy, he's going to be the bad guy. Like it seems like there's a lot more turmoil going on with that character. I mean, I'm more so interested in that stuff right now, really, than like Tanjiro training and stuff, I guess. But
I agree.
this is kind of what Demon Slayer does for me every season, where like I'm not really too into it at the beginning, but it eventually builds to something, and then it's like worth talking about more. But yeah,
Yes, it's definitely continuing its trends. Tanjiro goes to new location, teams up with new Hashira, fights new 12 Kizuki. So yeah, we've kind of seen it all before. We know what to expect. But I think the new demons are interesting and their dynamics, especially with like the latest episode and what that upper rank demon turned out to really be. Is an interesting twist. I think like the Hashira we've kind of had like, and I mean this one has 2, but yeah, we've had more focus on the one so far, and we've kind of had an evolution of their character traits throughout the arcs. So like first we start with super energetic, super nice guy, and then we go to super energetic, kind of a dick. Now we've got kind of a dick, not at all energetic. So you just swap out one characteristic each time. But yeah, I agree. It's everything we expect from the series. They're swapping out a few things, making it feel a little fresh and new. And yeah, I think the new Hashira, his dynamic, his juxtaposition with Tanjiro, the new demons, their relationships within each other, within their own ranks, and their powers that they've introduced. The little peek into Tanjiro's ancestors and the earrings and all that, and the mysteries around that as they relate to other characters. That's all interesting stuff to explore. And yeah, we're getting to, actually bring in the Scarface kid who had been teased a few times throughout the series. Yeah. And yeah, it looks great. Sounds great. It's a big, bombastic, good time. Usual Demon Slayer.
Yeah. I feel like
I like the Excalibur sword. I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see that kind of play out, but that's because I just like gear and swords and stuff in shows and video games. I'm like, oh, this sword's got to be fucking amazing as hell.
Oh, his gear score just went up so high, bro.
Oh hell yeah! That primary weapon attack stat is gonna skyrocket.
I mean, if you're into like weapon stats, you are literally in Weapon Village, so it's a perfect place.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm just not. I feel like my main problem with Tanjiro as a main character is that like I'm not really interested in, or like there isn't really a draw for me for him getting stronger, because there's not like besides like the different breathing techniques, there isn't really like a true power system or anything that he's really building on. And the fact that he'll just be like, oh, now I can not only smell the killing strike, but I can smell oncoming attacks and see the future with my smell. It just like really doesn't do it for me. So I don't know.
I just wanted to do something different. That's my problem. And
Yeah.
I get that like what it does do, it does well. It's just I'm burnt out on what it does do because it's been a long time of doing that. So I'd like something a little fresh.
On the bright side, Zenitsu's not in this arc.
Yeah. I guess that's the shining light in all of this.
The silver lining.
Yeah,
He's just off doing some other shit, being annoying to someone else.
exactly. Not to us.
But then also neither is what's his face with the boar head.
Yeah, Inosuke.
Inosuke.
It's
Yeah.
Inosuke's not in it though, which is
I
a
know.
downside.
Yeah, they're a package
That
deal.
is.
They are a package deal.
I won an Inosuke lanyard from a conveyor belt sushi place yesterday.
Nice.
That's a
Hell
thing.
yeah.
Are they still doing the Demon Slayer collab?
They are, yeah.
Nice. I might have to go to Little Tokyo and check that out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
I can agree with you, DJ, for sure. It's kind of like, yeah, what they do well, and you do want something fresh. It's just I don't really know what that could even be.
yeah, they've kind of established like this is the formula. We're gonna see it through to the end. There's
But now
not-
with terrible
room for
CGI
variety.
fish.
Did anyone read the manga? Do we know how far into the story this is?
No, I can check like chapter count though. Because I know like the manga ended like right when the series got big. And like
That's why I
late
thought like
2019.
there really wouldn't be too much more than like another
Yeah.
season or two.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Yeah, I think, at least like Demon Slayer's version of doing something new is very subtle compared to what you would like it to do. So like I said, you get new Hashira, you get new settings, you get new demons to fight. I think at least this one has new supporting characters. Like that is a significant enough change that the last several arcs didn't have. Like basically since we met Inosuke and Zenitsu in like the second or third arc of the first season, it's been that trio all the way through. So that mixes it up a little bit to not have them and to have these new supporting characters, at least one.
There was a joke I laughed at.
Oh,
Yeah. It
What?
was when Tanjiro's sword guy comes back to take the 300-year-old sword and
Mhm.
throws Tanjiro on the ground, and he goes, "Why would a grown up do this?" I guess I thought it was funny because like, oh yeah, that's right, these are kids or whatever, and they're having like a temper tantrum in a way, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, and that's what made it funny. And then I was like, this show can do a joke.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it helps to not have the screaming characters around all the time.
Well, there is a new screaming character, so
Yeah, but
though he has a fucking gat, so
that's true.
he's cool.
Yeah, and I guess that's another thing is like not everyone's just fighting with swords anymore. That's a little different.
Mhm.
Yeah, take what I can get.
Yep, I will continue watching it because I'm sure the battles will be cool and everything. But yeah, it'd be what it be.
To do.
Well, then how
Okay,
about we
so-
switch over real quick to Hell's
Let me just,
Paradise then?
Let me just get this count here. So we are up to chapter 107, and the series ran for 1 second. It ran for 205 episodes. So we're actually only just barely over halfway through.
Okay.
And that kind of makes sense. Like we've got 2 more demons this time around, but there's still a decent amount of them to go through, and unless you just pile them all in the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've only seen like half of the upper 6 even do anything. Oh,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean we've got what 3 of them left and Muzan. So
Yeah. I
if
feel
they
like-
just
That's another problem I have is that like Muzan, aka Michael Jackson, is just like not that compelling of a final boss to me yet.
He's
I
barely
guess-
done anything.
I guess that's the
Yeah.
thing is they really haven't characterized him much.
yeah.
But even so, I feel like other shows have done it. Like, for example, something like Sukuna from JJK. It's like that guy has taken a backseat for a lot of the first season, but like they make it known from the beginning that like this guy is the ultimate evil and is here to fuck up everything. And you feel it a lot more than this. I feel because a lot of this season, Tanjiro's like, "Don't worry, because one day I'm going to beat him," and it's like I don't know. It just doesn't really get me going.
Yeah, I think, so far, he's always been lurking in the background as this ultimate evil, the final boss that even all of these incredible demons are terrified of. But really, what we focus on is those individual demons that are going to be the immediate threats and how cool and interesting and unique their powers are. So I think, yeah, having that compared to him, who just stands around and is intimidating for no discernible reason, yeah, you don't really get a sense of what makes him so special yet.
Yeah.
You know what I wish the show would do, and then we'll move on to Hell's Paradise? That would be sort of, at least for me, fun and refreshing. And I think I've mentioned it a few times. Is I want a Hashira to roll in and like one shot an upper demon.
That'd be cool.
Because you get like with the villains a lot of the time, you get these like just brutal displays of their power the whole time. And the Hashiras are also supposed to be incredibly powerful, so it'd be cool if they flipped the script like just once, and one of the Hashiras just like completely annihilates one of the upper demons, and then you could also, you know, tone it back down by just saying, well, the next one up is way, way more powerful or whatever, because you could just easily do that. But it would be fun to see one of the good guys just kind of raffle stomp through one of the major bad guys.
I feel like we might get a moment kind of like Bleach, where like the top commander like shows up and just immediately eliminates an upper demon. It's like, oh, that's why he's the big dog. But then like he's already like in his weakened state, so then he'll be like a sacrifice that everyone has to get over. Something.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had, like, in the first season, we had a little display of Hashira might with lower ranked demons, and even kind of with, like, the lower level 12 Kizuki, because, you know, they've established that no upper ranked demon had been defeated in, you know, hundreds of years or whatever, and they've killed countless Hashira. So to have that happen, like, these are the same upper ranks we've had for hundreds of years, so they can't really just have one of them die easily now. So you kind of have to just take, you know, lower ranked, even other 12 Kizuki getting destroyed as your closest equivalent to that. And then also, you know, for the sake of showing how intimidating and powerful Muzan is, you had, you know, like the last episode of season 1 where he just fucking kills all of the lower ranked 12 Kizuki, who up to that point were, you know, the most powerful demons we'd ever experienced. And the rest of them, the other 5, just don't get to have fights or show their might at all because they only exist, or 4, I guess, to get killed by him in this display. So, you know, you got that for the big bad boss. You had it a little bit with the Hashira, like, you know, they kind of come in and kill a lot of these demons, and Rui goes down relatively easily. I mean, he's already been mostly defeated by Tanjiro, but yeah, I think that's the most you're going to get of that.
Yeah, I know it's pretty much like narratively impossible.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see. I mean, I think I say that about a lot of like shonens that work out like this, where every battle is always the good guys win by just like the hairs on their chinny chin chin. And I think that's, you know, what makes One Punch Man especially fun too, is that, hey, it's the good guy doing this now.
Yeah.
If that's any reason to keep watching Mashle, that'll be a reason. So.
Right.
It definitely is, because all the wizards and stuff are like, we're so powerful, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna throw a huge rock at you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bench press you real quick.
Yeah, so that would at least make something in Demon Slayer that's like different and cool. But I also realize that is a pipe dream. But
It would be nice if they gave us any surprise, like getting away from the formula, like anything other than, and then we beat the third best demon, and then the second, and then the first, and then Muzan, and then they all live happily ever after. It'd be nice to get anything but that, which there's been no indication of yet.
Yeah, like we're in for another 26 episode fight scene.
But they're so good.
Yeah, I feel like that's
they are good at times.
I feel like the final boss will be like a full season fight.
Yeah.
How the last season of Shakugan no Shana was. It was just a fucking 26 episode fight scene. It was
That's,
wild.
boy, that sounds like a lot to keep going. My patience would be tested.
It was a whole ass like war. Like it was like a good like fucking 100 characters fighting. So it was just like back and forth fight scenes. It wasn't just like one fight. Not like Goku versus Piccolo like round 8,000.
Well, I think our transition to Hell's Paradise will be good for that conversation because there's lots of one-sided fights so far that just end in brutal demise.
I
The
do
show's
really love
fucking
that.
rad.
Yeah, I do
It's
fucking love that,
cool.
actually.
As soon as like the end of the last episode where like the big things show up and then they're just these fucking weird ass religious demon monsters. Holy shit, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's some like Junji Ito level creature
Yeah, it makes
designs.
fucking titans look like pussies. These things were so rad.
Uh,
Yeah, and I love samurai to begin with, and so we got like a fucking dark ass battle royale samurai weird religious imagery show. Sign me up. This is so cool.
Yeah. Wow, this is DJ's ideal shonen battle manga.
It really is.
It really is fucking cool. It feels like a fighting game just played out on an island because you have all these vaguely related like people in terms of their time period and what they do, but they're all super unique and have their own move sets, and then it's just them beating the shit out of each other.
yeah,
I like
it's
the
Samurai
dude.
Showdown with demons, basically.
I like the dude who cuts his arm off. He's my favorite.
Yeah,
He did it so
angry on him.
casually.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
you know what? I was gonna die if I didn't do that, so I've just got one arm now.
Yeah, I do like how the also that one guy just got like they set the main girl's like captain up as like, oh, he's supposed to be like this badass dude, and then he just gets fucking eaten,
Oh,
just
yeah.
like completely destroyed. Like that was awesome.
Show's so cool. It's just like fucking it hypes me up. It
Yeah.
feels like I don't know, crashing or like crushing like a fucking can of Monster against my head. Like that's just how I feel when I watch this show.
DJ, you finally get shonen. That's the
Yeah.
whole appeal.
Is that how it's supposed to feel?
Yes.
That is how it's
Oh
supposed to feel.
man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
right.
I feel like
That's
I
why
should
people
just,
love it so much.
Like like it makes me want to put a backwards cap on.
Makes me want to get a barbed wire tattoo.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do
Yeah, well-
like how they are very like they're not pulling any punches, especially with the main premise of like the beheading rituals. I feel like lots of shows will, they will allude or like show like a raised sword and then like a cutaway. But that first episode showed more like you see the heads getting cut off more than I've seen in like any other show.
Yeah, it was like it opened the series specifically with how messy and gruesome beheadings actually are. Like before we even knew what the show was about, that's what it introduced it with.
Yeah.
That's how every anime should be introduced.
Someone getting their head chopped off.
Yeah, just
Trying
like
to get their head chopped off
Yeah.
and like not working out really well. Or like, fuck.
Yeah. Either happy idols dancing or heads rolling.
dude, both.
One.
So that's how Skip and Loafer should have started.
Oh man.
I mean, Zombieland Saga basically started off that way.
Yeah.
True.
Kinda.
Combo
In a
those two, yeah.
roundabout sort of way, sure.
This show has been it's super entertaining, and I really appreciate how they hype up all these characters and stuff, but really outside of like Gabi Maru and his executioner lady, I feel like anyone could die at any point in time for any reason, which
Yeah.
keeps me on the edge of my seat.
Like
In a
true
lot of
battle
ways.
royale. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like plot armor at all.
Yeah.
It was funny how a lot of it felt like a lot of the executioner people were surprised when the second they got on the island, like, oh, I'm just gonna kill everybody. They're like, what do you mean you're gonna kill everybody?
Yeah. I like how also that it's not like a one-sided affair where like, oh, all these executioners got in way over their head and now it's just a bunch of criminals on the loose. It's like, no, some of them are clearly these executioners are also really fucked up and they kill their prisoner and they're like also got their own agenda.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, they're definitely not all like righteous justice dealers or anything like that.
Yeah. I also think Gabimaru's like character motivation is really unique. The fact that he has like a wife that he's trying to get back to that we don't really know, what is going on with her, or like if she's even still exists or anything like that. It's a very unique character motivation.
Yeah,
I don't expect it
sociopathic
to,
wife guy.
yeah, exactly, and I don't expect it to have a happy ending. So
Right, yeah.
I pretty much just thought I was watching a ninja version of John Wick with him, except the wife is alive rather than dead. Because their
Yeah.
story matches up so much where he's like, ninja guy wants to retire, ninja guy has feelings that isn't killing people, he's a legendary killer. Oh, they let him go, but then they didn't. And now he's sucked back into this world despite his wishes, potentially.
True.
Yeah, it's fucking dope as hell.
yeah, and I mean the colors of the island and stuff are like really cool and vibrant.
Aesthetic's so bad.
Yeah, I hope that just the further it goes on, the more just like twisted and crazy the visuals start getting.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, it is yet another MAPPA series that they're just putting everything into. Yeah, because they adapt every big show now.
Yeah. I mean, this was like a putting this guy's series on the map kind of manga too.
On the MAPPA.
On the MAPPA, yeah.
Oh,
I'm writing that down. I'm writing it down.
That's the
Come up with
episode
something
title
better.
right there.
Get off the stage.
Nope, too late. That's it.
Oh no. I think it's interesting because this guy, maybe like a year after Hell's Paradise finished, started a new manga, and it got like 10, 15, 20 chapters, and then they axed it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy how, well, that's a whole nother conversation for Weekly Shonen Jump, but
Yeah, he just got this adaptation too late. If this had come earlier, if it had gotten this kind of treatment, then yeah, the manga would have blown up. He would have been able to do whatever he wanted for as long as he wanted.
yeah,
He'll be able to make something else now.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it is interesting, like, with a lot of these big adaptations, like not Chainsaw Man, that was already huge, but with Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, they were like, all right, these look like pretty cool adaptations coming out, and then they just became the biggest thing and made their manga the biggest thing, and it was hard to believe that they ever weren't the biggest thing. With this, it was like, I feel like as soon as you knew MAPPA was adapting it, you already knew what kind of adaptation it was going to get, and you already knew it was going to be a hit just because of that inevitability. So it like got this precursor of this success that you wouldn't normally get until it starts actually airing and people get excited about watching it every week, just because what they do for adaptations.
Yeah, that is a strange inverse way to get hype, where people, at least for Western viewers, it was less so about like, oh, Hell's Paradise is an awesome series. It's more like, oh, MAPPA's making another sick shonen battle show.
Yeah. And like, yeah. And that extends to before it even airs, is if this is a manga that MAPPA's going to adapt, not only must it be good source material, but it will be a good adaptation that will make me want to read the source material after it's ended.
Yeah, and I mean, it's already done too, so people, I feel like after the first season ends, will just like rip through it. It's only like 13 volumes, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so so it'll have a few seasons, but yeah, good to know that it has an ending at least, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, look at this. The creator was Fujimoto's assistant, actually.
Yeah, you can see that a lot in the second manga he was making. His main character definitely felt like a Denji type of guy, who like literally his whole shtick was like he loves reading manga, so he's just gonna fight people because he wants to. His whole goal is like, I want to be a manga protagonist.
Yeah, that was another one that I read the first 3 chapters of, as I did with this one too. I don't know why they never captured me enough at the beginning for me to keep going, but I guess I'll see them all as anime eventually.
Yep.
Yeah, wow, Fire Punch, quite the retrospective pedigree.
For real.
The creator of Chainsaw Man and the creator of Hell's Paradise.
Yeah. And Spy Family. I think he was an assistant on that too.
Oh yeah, that's right. God damn.
Right? Like
Yo.
crazy.
Wow.
Ugh. And it's crazy too because, well, at least the Spy Family creator is older than Fujimoto, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
about Hell's Paradise. He might be around the same age.
Yeah, I have no idea how old the Hell's Paradise guy is, but yeah, I mean, Fujimoto like is what, like 29, 30, and the Spy Family guy is like in his 40s. So
Yeah.
I was definitely surprised to hear that he was an assistant on Fire Punch, which Fujimoto started when he was like I don't know,
20?
23.
Yeah.
Yeah. 22 looks like. Jesus.
That's nuts. My life was not ready at 22. I was a half-baked young man still. All right. Anything else we want to get talking about? We're at almost 2 hours, but I feel like there's a couple more things we could talk about. I do actually want to hear a bit of DJ's opinion on a show we're both watching.
The Magical Destroyers?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is the most fucking trigger, non-trigger show that I've ever seen. It's just
Exactly.
ridiculous. I have one problem with this show, and that it is immense. It's immensely bogged down by its rating. It is a PG-13 show, but it is
Oh.
packed to the brim with just R-rated content that is heavily censored.
Yeah.
And that
Mhm.
part's weird. But as a
Mhm.
show, it's fucking just odd, and it's really entertaining and weird. And I can't imagine many people will like it because it is so off the fucking walls. And it's so the thing that I like about it the most is that it definitely feels like one of the most unique shows that I've watched in recent memory.
Yeah.
Sort of rivaled only by shit like Sunny Boy, which is a completely different show, but it's also something that is clearly different from everything else out there. And I get that from this because it's a combination of a million different genres and just a big old love letter to the otaku. And it's just fucking dumb, but like
It's so
also
dumb.
it's so dumb, but it's got this like really strange like 90s visual novel feel to it, where it's like
Mm.
the world is just like fucking how do I describe this? Just like everything is wrong, but in a way that's like kind of unsettling, and it
Yeah.
lures you into this sort of false state of comfort. And it's just so fucking hard to talk about this show because it's so weird. But I'm having a good time, and I completely get why no one else is watching it except me and Bran.
Yeah, it's definitely the show of the season where it's either going to pop off or like fall off really hard.
Yeah.
And that's because it's so weird and dumb and experimental. And I don't know if that means it's building to something and like it's going to like pull the rug out and there's going to be like a dark twist, or if
There's
it's just
gotta
gonna.
be.
That's what I feel. I feel like it has that like Madoka Magica feel to it.
Yeah, like that. The opening alone is like, oh shit,
Yeah.
okay, this is this is a psychological horror, but it hasn't gotten to that point even remotely inside the show itself yet. So
Exactly. Yeah,
we'll
that
see how
fever
shit turns.
dream, that fever dream OP is the reason I started watching it. I was just like blown away by it.
I got bombarded with messages from people in my server being like, "Have you watched this yet?" Because that's like the exact style of shit that I do, and
Yeah.
it made me smile when I watched that opening. And this was already on my list from the get go because I thought the synopsis was cool. I always like the like music has been outlawed, or like anime has been outlawed, and all that just like they got rid of something that a bunch of people liked type of plot. It's just I don't know. It's not normally executed well, but that sort of thing always just manages to keep me captivated. And this is no exception to that. And when they outlawed otakus, they really fucking outlawed otakus. And that is just they're fighting their war, and it's a weird ass war. And the show is the horniest non-horny piece of media I've ever seen.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where like it's so stupid, but you can tell that they're pretty self-aware about it.
Oh yeah.
Like literally just having a guy named Cringe Mobile Car Otaku guy or whatever.
Yeah.
just-
The main
Stuff like
character
that.
is literally Otaku Hero. That is his name.
yeah, and he's very clearly like way cooler than should be, and like all the girls and everyone like fawns over him, and it's like, okay, are
Just
we
a
like
normal ass
living?
otaku with a helmet.
Yeah, I'm like, are we just like living through his like vision of what he thinks is happening? Because it's just so, yeah, it's just so surreal.
That's a good word for it. Surreal and like you said before, experimental. Those are the two words that I think sum up this show better than any actual description possibly could.
Yeah, it's not a show I can vehemently recommend to anyone because I still really don't know what it's gonna do.
Yeah. Whatever it's gonna do though, I'm all about it.
Yeah, no, it's fun enough that I'm like, you know what? Let them do their thing. Let them cook. But yeah, I'm glad you're watching it because this is one that I didn't expect anyone else to really have their eye on.
Oh god, yeah. I'm all over this.
Yeah. Ugh. So dumb.
That was so funny when you posted the OP.
It's just like literally just I made an opening.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm like, that doesn't seem it. I'm like,
okay, I see now.
Oh, this is pretty good. And then like halfway through is just like glitch core crazy. Just
Yep. Yeah, I haven't seen that done in an opening before, so
yeah.
thank you, Magical Destroyers, for
Yeah.
the MS Paint horror that you have given us.
Yeah. That was like watching watching what's it called? Like Salty Bets, like watching just crazy Mugen fighters from like all
Mhm.
different properties just smashing together with effects flying all over.
Yep.
I feel like my PC is gonna explode every time I put that opening on.
Just brain melting.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me Salty Bets was a thing. I completely forgotten about.
Yeah, I used to watch that shit in college.
There's like a gaming like PC lounge kind of near me that they have like PCs and PlayStations and Wii's and an arcade and stuff, but usually above their bar they have like esports tournaments and stuff going on, but there's usually at least one dedicated TV with Salty Bets on it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it. Magical Destroyers is just like Salty Bets the anime, sort of.
And on that note,
Yeah.
anything else we want to talk about before we break for this episode?
I just want to say that I'm glad that Ancient Mage's Bride is back, but it's been so long that I'm fucking confused. And I don't remember anything. And I watched the OVAs and I've read most of the manga, and I was like, I don't remember anything about this.
Yeah, if I hadn't read the manga as it's been coming out, I think I'd be a lot more lost. But yeah, I kind of forgot what happened at the end of the season too. It has been like 6 years.
Jeez, 6 years. Oh my god.
I guess 5 years and a few weeks from the end of the first season to the beginning of the second season. And the OVAs are like, the OVAs are what I expect things like that to be, where they're completely divorced from the main series.
Yeah.
I've seen things go on hiatus for longer.
Yeah, for sure. And even though, like all series, with Studio dropped it, it generally looks and feels the same. So that's nice. It is by the studio formed just for the last OVAs and the season, formed by members of Wit Studio that worked on the first season. So that's why it feels consistent, even though it's totally different main staff and technically a different studio.
Yeah, I think we've covered all the shows I watch except for Vinland, which is big, but we do talk about it quite frequently.
We talk about Vinland all the time, and it's kind of in the middle of a big plot point, so we should probably just wait till that plot point's
Yeah.
over.
And we talk about Birdie Wing all the time too. And
Yeah.
as excited as I am to talk about that show, I'm okay with waiting a little while to talk about that show.
As
Save
much
that
of
for
an
our
anime
Birdie
as
Wing
it
spoiler
is.
cast. It is an anime, yes.
Oh, I guess the one thing I did want to say, which I mentioned before the podcast, is I wanted to make a point about Ranking of Kings because the current anime is like a spin-off, right? And I've seen so many people online that are just like mad. They're mad that it's a spin-off and that it's not like continuing the plot in any meaningful way. And they're like, I'm gonna drop this because like there's no thing happening, like they're not even moving the plot forward. And
Cool, bye.
I just like for me personally, I feel like the words canon and filler have just like destroyed the minds of modern anime viewers because like there used to be a point in time where, anime had moments where nothing in particular was happening to drive the main plot forward, and that was okay. And I feel like as long as you like the show and like I love the vibes of Ranking of Kings, I don't mind just watching Boji and Kage just have like cute little adventures and learn little life lessons without it having to move the plot forward.
80% of the original Sailor Moon anime
I was
be considered
just
filler.
literally like Sailor Moon was the thing that popped into my head is that like people love that show and like stuff like Gintama because they're not always trying to like put a heavy plot point forward. They're just like letting you have fun with the characters and like build the world a little bit more. And I don't know, I just was driving me insane that people like hang on the fact that like anime needs to progress. Otherwise, there's no point. And like calling it filler feels wrong because filler is like when you need to extend something because they ran out of material. Whereas this is just like fun little side stories and stuff that was missed during the main plot because they had to move it forward. And I don't see any problem with that. Like, can't we just enjoy that Wit is making us a continuation of something and it still looks as good as it did before and it's really cute and fun? I don't know. I just like got really heated reading internet comments about this show.
Your first mistake is reading internet comments
Yeah.
from anime
Yes,
fans.
yes.
You're
Yeah, big
right.
problem there.
You did this to
You're right.
yourself.
You fell for the someone is wrong on the internet trap and just
I fell hard. Okay. But I will just say that if you at all like the world or characters of Ranking of Kings, there's no problem in enjoying a show where there's not going to be any big plot moments. I'm enjoying it, and I love Boji. He's still best little boy. But yeah,
Yeah.
good to hear.
that's
I
my
mean-
TED talk. Thanks.
Yeah, I get it. Like, we didn't know anything about this season going into it. The fact that they're spending a full length season on just like little in between side stories from various points in the first season is a strange choice. And I don't find it that engaging so far. Like
Yeah.
you could have strong material with that kind of setup. I think there's a lot to explore in that world and those characters that could work out just fine with that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm still kind of like, I'm not looking forward to Ranking of Kings every week anymore. It comes on and I'm like, okay, sure, that exists in this universe. That's neat, I guess. Looks nice. Do I really care about any of this? I don't know. We'll see. But it's one that, I've got a few Thursday shows. Maybe I wouldn't mind if I wasn't, spending 24 minutes being like, oh, yeah, that's the cute characters. That's a nice world. Looked all right.
Yeah. And that's fair. I think it is sort of a symptom of the saturation and bombardment of how much anime we get each season that like
Yeah, it's hard to dedicate time to side stories when every season has, a gazillion plus shows that are the new hotness that you gotta watch to be a part of the zeitgeist. And if you care that much about that, you just aren't gonna make time for shows that don't have a plot or move the plot of a pre-existing IP or something.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. It's just an unfortunate consequence of the fact that we don't have time, you know. But I don't know. I'm still enjoying it. It's like I guess it's one of the few like fluff shows I have this season, so like I don't mind having it on as just like a cool down after work or something while I'm just like really turning my brain off.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Right. Well, I think it's about time to move into recommendations if anybody has any.
I have one.
Nice.
Came out yesterday, but Honkai Star Rail is out. Fun gotcha game from the people that made Honkai Impact and Genshin Impact. This one doesn't have Impact in the title, but it is still a MiHoYo game. And it's fucking, they're flexing how much money they make off Genshin Impact. It's very apparent, but it's a solid turn-based strategy game that also allows you to pay for PNGs. So hooray!
Nice.
Genshin's got enough of my time. I don't need more of that shit in my life.
I am officially out. I haven't played since Inazuma.
More power to you. You're
yeah.
not me.
Good for me. I escaped.
Yeah, let's see. Recommendations. I can't remember if I mentioned the Cowboy Bebop thing last time. Probably. That's kind of the only April release that I'm really excited about. So yeah, watch
What,
new anime. Watch Oshinoko.
What Cowboy Bebop release? Like
The fourth deluxe edition Blu-ray collection of the series
God.
under the company formerly known as Funimation, all of which I own. So this is
Get those investments in.
Yeah, right. Well, investment would be if I bought two of each and had them factory sealed. Yeah, this is the 25th anniversary Blu-ray limited edition. It's got like the packaging is really cool for the limited edition. I was really happy with that. And it's got some new extras. I don't know. I'll fucking buy anything they slap that shit on. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Watch Oshinoko.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any recommendations this week. Surprise, surprise.
I got one. The Shonen Jump store today dropped some new merch for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Dr. Stone. So you can go and check that out. I don't know if it's like a limited time discount, but if you use the code Bizarre10 off, I know you'll get 10% off on the new line. I think it's interesting that the new JoJo line wouldn't, make anything for part 5, which they are currently printing, or part 6, which just aired. It's mainly parts 1 through 3 merch, which feels a little bit of a tone deaf move, but some cool stuff in there and some weird merch too. Like there's a teacup set with one of them is like Joseph or Jonathan themed and one of them's Dio themed. Thought that was kind of interesting, but some neat shirts and hats and stuff. So yeah, check those out if you're into JoJo's. And then there's also the Dr. Stone stuff, which I didn't look at, but I think they are probably cool.
Yeah, and I don't really think I have anything to recommend this time around either. Other than Atomic Heart's pretty good.
Is it?
I'm playing.
I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet.
It's pretty good. Like, it's trying to do a Bioshocky-esque thing, but
Yeah.
Soviet Russia style to varying degrees of success. But it's got a cool like looting system, like how you get the loot off the ground and out of boxes and stuff that I hope more games do at
Fucking
least.
hit into your glove.
Yeah, and that you don't have to open each drawer or whatever
Yeah.
individually. You can just pass your glove over it and you'll collect all of the loot. So then you don't have to cycle through constant menus of deciding what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. Just takes it. Yeah, that's about it for me.
All right.
Cool.
Kate, did you want to lead us out, or should I take the?
You can take it.
All right. All right, Castro, how about you let everyone know where they can find us and where they can find you?
You can find the podcast anywhere you find podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Amazon Music, fandompost.com. You can find us on social media at Twitter and Facebook, Fandom Post Radio on all those platforms. You can get in contact with us through that or email fandompostradio@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma. I don't really post anything except links to stuff I write on Fandom Post, but that's been a lot of stuff lately. So since our last episode, I've published that Attack on Titan 10-year retrospective, which is very long. The write-up about the Suzume premiere event and my interview with Shinkai, which is included as a video on that. Also very long. As I said, I'm reviewing Oshi no Ko. First episode review of that, also very long. I'm keeping up with that. I gotta do my episode 3 review right after this recording. I also reviewed the first 3 episodes of Magus Bride and Yamada-kun. I think I'm probably just going to stick with Oshi no Ko for the rest of the season, but you can read my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of those 2 series at least. I think that's all I've been doing.
Cool beans. DJ, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at DJ No Style. You can find my video game at lessonsinlovegame.com or celibus.com. Those are the places that you can find me. Or on Facebook if you are a stalker.
I would never tell someone to go to my Facebook. You could find me at Hellshake Brando on all of the socials. And check out my weekly Mashle reviews, though I missed a few weeks, but I'm back at it again. So if you're enjoying the Mashle anime and just can't get enough of it, need to read ahead, you can read all of my reviews. So yeah.
And Kate?
Oh, you can find me on fandompost.com. I am reviewing Dr. Stone and Vinland Saga, and I am around on the internet, usually with the screen name Sonic Bug. My Twitter account is locked down, so if you didn't get there, you haven't missed much. I haven't really posted anything in like the last 5 months. So, yeah, that's it.
Very cool. And as usual, you can just find me right here, sharing my opinions, for better or for worse, mostly worse. But yeah, as always, thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time where I'm sure we'll talk about some news and whatever happens to be airing or anything particularly exciting going on. And I want to hear more about Kate's ET experience someday.
That's our next episode, yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna be her recounting the entire story about how she had to go to this kid's fucking birthday party. But yeah, download, give us suggestions on things you want us to talk about or opinions or anything like that, and we will see you next time.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Ow.